Hello YouTube, Dave here again. Today I'm going to be giving you a review of the new adventure for 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. This is Icewind Rime of the Frost Maiden. Now in this video I want to try to keep this as spoiler free or spoiler light as possible. Though in the coming weeks I will likely do a more thorough dissection of the storyline, explanation, and maybe even some advice on how to run this particular campaign. Icewind Rime of the Frost Maiden is one of the adventures that I've most looked forward to and anticipated for pretty much all of 5th edition D&D's lifespan so far. I love the Icewind Dale region, and even though this is sort of part of that whole Sword Coast region of the Forgotten Realms that has been sort of played to death over the last, well, 6 years, I feel honestly that Icewind Dale, that location, is the least utilized of the entire Sword Coast area, and honestly this adventure still feels really fresh. So first of all, I do want to say that this was sent to me by Wizards of the Coast for the purposes of doing a review. I showed all the products that they sent me along with the books and the dice set, which I've already done a video for, so I do want to thank them for sending this to me. As always, however, they are not controlling what is said in the reviews, they're not giving me certain notes, they're not reviewing the video first before allowing it to go out. Everything that is said in this video is my own opinion. First things first, I love the cover of this book, and it's been a long time since something has come out for 5th edition, or really for Dungeons & Dragons in general, where the cover felt like a complete and total mystery to me. So this was a really just this cover immediately when I saw the artwork and this, this gigantic, owl-like creature. It just I don't know, there's just something about it that I really couldn't wait, like I said, to get this book and start reading it. We'll take a quick look at the back here as well. So it says that some secrets are worth dying for. In Icewind Dale, adventure is a dish best served cold. Beneath the unwielding night sky, you stand before a towering glacier and recite in ancient rhyme, causing a crack to form in the great wall of ice. Beyond this yawning fissure, caves of hunger await, and past this icy dungeon is a secret so old and terrifying that few dare to speak of it. The mad wizards of the Arcane Brotherhood long to possess that which the god of winter's wrath has so coldly preserved, as do you. What fantastic secrets and treasures are entombed in the sunless heart of the glacier, and what will their discovery mean for the innocence of Icewind Dale? Can you save 10 towns from the Frost Maiden's everlasting night? Icewind Dale Rime the Frost Maiden is a tale of dark terror that revisits the forlorn, flickering candlelights of civilization known as 10 Towns and sheds light on many bone-chilling locations that surround these frontier settlements. This is a D&D adventure for characters levels 1 through 11th. And yeah, it's designed for use with 5th edition core books, and retails for $49.95 US or $65.95 Canadian. So I'm not going to do a complete flip through in this video because, like I said, I really don't want to spoil the main story or any of the events that take place therein. But we will at least look through a little bit of the book and show some of the at least the early sections there. I also love the knucklehead trout mounted on the thing with old Bitey on it. It, like I said, it always reminds me of like the Billy Bass, like the rubber singing fish, which I'm not going to lie, I used to have one as a kid. So it is kind of neat to see something like that, even if it's not a direct homage. And anyway, I just thought it was kind of cool. This campaign is also, or this book is also very thick. Like, it's one of the thicker adventure books to come out at over 300 pages. So there's a lot to take in here. With this book, which is awesome. There's a lot of detail and a lot of thought and effort that went into this. The first couple of chapters are meant to introduce the realm of Icewind Dale to the player characters. Chapter 1 focusing specifically on 10 Towns itself, while Chapter 2 focuses on the Icewind Dale region as a whole. Then with chapters 3 through 7, you get into sort of the meat and potatoes of the main adventure. One of the great things also about this particular campaign is it does a great job of trying to get the players to make their characters and connect them to the actual campaign itself, like so that they actually have a reason, a valid reason for wanting to actually, be partaking in the adventure. So if we go a little bit further here, we have our adventure flowchart. The flowchart honestly isn't that useful in this particular book because it is it makes the adventure look more straightforward than maybe it really is. But it's still, it's there. I guess other books have had them as well. Wilderness survival section is great for having environmental threats, avalanches, blizzards, extreme cold, mountain travel, things like that, which is great. It's also a pronunciation guide, which is always useful because I'm terrible at pronouncing things. But here we have character hooks that are tied to the main backgrounds from the player's handbook. I'm not going to go through every single one, but for example, if you're a sage character, the sage background actually, throws in a connection to the story. You came to Icewind Dale in search of ruins and artifacts left behind by the giants who ruled the ancient empire of Astoria. To find even one Astorian relic would fulfill a lifelong dream and make your rivals back home green with envy. So it just does a really great job of trying to tie everyone's backgrounds, everyone's characters, to the adventure and give them a reason based on the character that they created to actually be in the region to begin with. Each character also has the option to have a secret. And these secrets are maybe not necessarily going to impact the campaign itself in a heavy way, but it is still a really cool thing to throw in there. And some of these are actually, again, really interesting. There's one where you were basically raised by Yeti. There's one where you rescued or you helped save the life of an orc who gave you this stone that can summon this spectral orc warrior a handful of times before it's destroyed. You could be, a secret heir to some sort of city or, something like that. You could be an heir to one of the barbarian tribes. So there's just a lot of really cool stuff in there as well. So again, does a decent job of giving the characters a little bit more depth than maybe some of the other campaigns would have. One of the things I also really like about this particular campaign is it's the first two chapters in particular are filled with small, short adventure scenarios for the characters to go through as they see fit. They can learn these through rumors that they learn in the different towns, or each town also has its own particular quest that the characters can take at the beginning of the campaign. There are also a couple of different starting quests that the characters could have to bring them into the Icewind Dale region in the first place if you don't want to start them with one of the town-specific quests. The one that I like the most is the one where you're sort of on the trail of this, murderer that you're trying to capture. And that's the one I kind of, personally prefer. There's another one where you're trying to get these nature spirits. You're trying to get one captured so that someone else can study it. So those are the ones that are sort of generic. They could take place no matter where the characters start the campaign in. Or they could look at the towns themselves and start with the quest there. Each of the 10 towns has a decent amount of information provided here. It gives you their population, who their leader is, what their defenses are, and things along those lines. It also indicates how friendly the town is to outsiders, the amount of services that could be available that they can find, and the comfort of lodging and stuff that they can find here as well. So it does a really good job of that. Like I said, one of the cool things about the way this campaign is structured is you have a lot of small side quests that the characters can do to get their early levels, but they also help build their reputation within the 10 towns region, if not within Icewind Dale as a whole, if they start exploring outside. The reason I actually like this sort of structure is it's actually how I'm running my current campaign. And I like the idea of having several shorter quests that can be accomplished generally within a short period of time, like a session or two. It just creates a greater sense of accomplishment. The characters feel like they're actually doing things instead of being stuck with this long-term story. Speaking of the story, when the campaign begins, again, I thought this was going to be maybe a mystery thing, where Icewind Dale, where the region is basically engulfed in this perpetual winter that blocks out the sun's light and just buffets the region with blizzards. But that's not actually the case. The cause is well known, or at least highly suspected from the very beginning. So the Frost Maiden, the one who's part of the title, She is actually one of the lesser god or lesser goddess by the name of Oriel, the Frost Maiden. She is one of the few gods who actually didn't abandon the material world at the end of the Sundering, which was sort of the transition to 5th edition, where the gods became less involved in the daily lives. She actually remained behind, even though it caused her to have to sacrifice a great deal of her divine power to not only maintain her form, but to also maintain this everlasting winter that has engulfed the region. So the fact that she's behind it is well known at the very beginning. And in fact, each of the 10 towns are trying to do different things to appease the goddess at the beginning of the campaign. This is something that, again, the players may get involved in to try to stop. So there's 3 different things that can be done. So as you see, each town, in its description, will have an entry for sacrifice to Oriel. So what is it that they're trying to give up in order to hopefully appease this goddess, this evil, cruel goddess, and bring an end to the perpetual winter. So there are 3 different ones. Like I said here, we'll start with the least severe going up to the most severe. So the sacrifices to Oriel, the first one is warmth. So towns that have very low populations and very low food stores, they will, instead of trying to sacrifice anything like that to the goddess, they will cause all of their citizens to spend the night without any source of warmth whatsoever. They can't have any fire. They nothing other than sharing their body heat for warmth. And if anyone forsakes this and actually tries to light a fire or do something to warm themselves throughout the night, if they're discovered, they are actually dragged out and beaten by the townsfolk. So they take this very seriously. But towns that are a little bit more well-to-do may offer sacrifices of food. So the smaller towns that can't, they give up food. A day's catch of knucklehead trout is strung up on wooden racks a mile outside of town to be claimed by Yeti and other creatures that embody Oriel's wrath. So that's sort of the next step up. The worst one, however, that the larger towns are currently doing is sacrificing of human or humanoid life. So Bryn, Shandir, East Haven, and Targos, the 3 largest towns in 10 towns, they hold lotteries on the afternoon before the new moon. The new moon is very important to the Frost Maiden and her worship. So on the afternoon before that, the unlucky person whose name is drawn is sacrificed at nightfall. The ill-fated soul is stripped bare and either tied to a post or sent into the tundra to die. Accusations of rigged lotteries are common, but usually not acted upon. So things are pretty bad in town. So again, there's reasons for the characters to want to bring an end to this. But before they can do that, they sort of need to build a reputation amongst the town, or the different towns, and essentially just do things to improve their abilities before doing something such as trying to confront a god directly. And that's, like I said, the first chapter is all about the 10 towns themselves and the small quests that you can do there, as well as a little bit of description on them. Again, really well done, and I just love them. I love the side quest or the short quest format. Like I said, it's the same thing that I've been doing for the online campaign that I've been running since May, I think it was. So I really enjoy that style. I think it's been done really, really well. The second chapter is similar to the first, except it's areas or locations outside of 10 towns. So it gives you just other areas in the Icewind Dale region that you can explore. The characters may simply go out there to explore, however, just based on their own curiosities, or many of the short quests or the side quests that are in here can be learned about through basically tall tales, gossip, rumors that they can hear in some of the other towns. So it actually gives you all the different side quests that are available there. So again, I really like that format. Now the main story really sort of kicks off afterwards, but there's a lot of things going on in this campaign all at once. So the Frost Maiden isn't the only threat that is, looming over the Icewind Dale and specifically the Ten Towns region. There's also a tribe of Durgar that have their own machinations and their own plans going on, which is actually the subject of Chapter 3 and Chapter 4. I'm not going to get too much into that, but there is a really great, the Chapter 4 in particular is a very, high intensity, high stakes chapter in which the characters are fighting for the very survival of 10 towns themselves. So that is a section that is really, really awesome. Again, very, very tense, but well done and intriguing. After that, the characters sort of take the fight potentially to the Frost Maiden herself. But like I said, there's more to it than just her. So you have the Durgar, you have the Frost Maiden. You also have these ancient ruins that are buried deep beneath the snow and glaciers in the Icewind Dale region that is tied to a very ancient empire indeed. Again, I'm not going to spoil it here. But it's, again, the whole story I found was very captivating, and there are clear motivations for the characters to move from one chapter to the other. What's also actually kind of interesting is there is the potential to end the threat of the Frost Maiden about halfway through the storybook, or the campaign book, I should say, though it would be very difficult for the characters to be able to do that. If they do, then it's great, but there are reasons to continue to the other locations that are provided afterwards. And if they don't, then they sort of have that final showdown with the Frost Maiden sort of at the end of the campaign. The campaign does a lot of stuff really, really well. Like I said, the short adventures are great. The storyline itself is also, it feels a bit more... I guess I want to say it feels a bit more realistic or more diverse than a lot of the other stories that have come beforehand. Most campaign books will typically focus on a single threat, and that will be the entirety. Like, I honestly expected this to be a little over 200 pages and deal specifically with nothing but dealing with the Frost Maiden, the Rime of the Frost Maiden, or whatever that might be, dealing with her, and that being the end of the campaign. Having a 300-page book with a ton of variety, a ton of great things to do. Like one of my favorite little scenarios taking place in the Icewind Dale region involves a tribe of Goliaths in which the player characters can actually, instead of being a combat encounter, they can partake in a sporting event known as Goat Ball to basically help deal with, or it's sort of like a diplomacy type of thing. So it's just some really cool stuff there. The Frost Maiden herself has some pretty evil things that she does, and even subjects the player characters to, or forces the player characters to choose to commit some pretty questionable acts in order to further the story as well. So there is some moral ambiguity or moral decisions that need to be made as well. Like I said, all I can say is this is one of the best campaigns I think I've ever seen Wizards of the Coast do. Of all the original stories that they've done, so looking back to things like the Tyranny of Dragons, the Waterdeep Dragon Heist, Dungeon of the Mad Mage, Into the Abyss, this is easily, hands down, the best original story that Wizards of the Coast has put out in a very long time. In the back of the book, it does reference that it does mention that the book itself, the campaign is designed to reference certain things, including John Carpenter's The Thing, which is a classic movie, as well as H.P. Lovecraft's At the Mountains of Madness. There's even a reference to Alien in here that I'm not going to spoil as well, but that's just an awesome homage or nod from me, because the Alien movies, at least the first three, are some of my favorite of all time. So yeah, there's a lot of great things that I can say about this. Like I said, the adventure, it does flow very well. There's logical reasons to do the things that you do. There's variety of what the characters can choose to do, what rumors they want to pursue, that they want to investigate, what towns they want to do quests for, things like that. And it's a breath of fresh air when it comes to the 5th edition campaigns. So I highly recommend it for those purposes as well. Again, I don't want to spoil too much here. This is a video that I want anyone to be able to watch and not have to worry about, revealing key plot details. I can't remember if I mentioned this yet or not, but this book also finally reveals the purpose behind these mysterious obelisks that have appeared in other campaigns like Tomb of Annihilation and Dungeon of the Mad Mage. So their purpose and how to activate them and what they do is finally revealed in this book. And it is a heck of a twist and something that could very easily lead to another set of adventures. And it could really turn the whole Forgotten Realms setting completely on its head. So I will leave that as a bit of a teaser there. The Frost Maiden herself is a compelling and interesting villain, and even though a lot of other 5th edition campaigns have sort of frustrated me with having the player characters at lower levels, going up against these high-level, powerful foes that should logically, realistically, just obliterate the characters early on. There's actually more thought, I feel, that went into Oriel, the Frost Maiden, that actually explains why, even though she's a goddess, why her physical abilities are reduced to the point where a group of, lower level characters, low to mid level characters, actually have a chance of defeating her. And that's something that is honestly kind of refreshing. Like, when I first read that she was a god, at first I was really frustrated and annoyed and was ready to put the book down and just walk away from it. But when I actually read her description, and it's like, oh, there's actually a logical reason why she's not as powerful now as she could be. And I think that that's a very important thing for these books to do, that none of the other campaigns that I can think of that have had these higher level, like Tomb of Annihilation or Waterdeep Dragon Heist, none of those books really did a satisfying job explaining why these super high level villains wouldn't just crush the player characters. And here, there is an actual logical built-in reason. And like I said, the fact that this region feels more alive with the different plot lines all going on at the same time, with the Frost Maiden, with the Durgar, with the Arcane Brotherhood, it just feels like a very much more alive and well thought out and conceived campaign. The one thing I will say is that this is one of the more complex adventures, I think, to run. There's a lot of variables that you have to take into effect, and a lot of things in early chapters can affect how the later chapters play out. But it is well described and explained, I think, in the books, to the point where it will help beginner DMs sort of get through it. That said, I wouldn't recommend this as your very first campaign. If this is your introduction to 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, pick something up like the Essentials Kit first. Run that, and if you can run that and get your head around the way that the adventure's formatted there, then you will have an excellent time with this book here. So again, just really, really well done from that perspective. A thick 300-page book that's just full of goodness. Again, I cannot recommend this enough. The best original adventure for 5th edition to date, in my opinion. And I would honestly put this in my top 3 5th edition adventures of all time. Maybe even number 2, and possibly even tied for number 1 with the Ghosts of Saltmarsh book. So I think it's that good. And this is one that, honestly, as soon as I bought it, or as soon as I picked this book up, or as soon as it was sent to me, and I started reading through it, I kind of want to convert it to the current campaign that I'm running, and I might still do so, because I'm really enthusiastic about this one. So check it out. Again, it releases the day after this video posts. So September 17th is the official release date. So you should be able to pick it up at that point at your local game store, as well as other bookstores and other online sites. But I would encourage you to go and pick this up at your local game store, especially if you are someone who likes to collect the alternate covers, because this one is just an absolutely beautiful cover. It's my favorite of the alternate covers that I've seen so far. I honestly thought that the Eberron one was going to be my favorite, but I just absolutely love this cover with the Frost Maiden's owl head form on there, and just the way that the light is picked up by this. It's just awesome. So like I said, go to your local game store if you can. Always support your local game stores first and foremost. And if you go there, hopefully you can get one of these special edition covers. But yeah, overall, definitely check this campaign out because, like I said, I think Wizards of the Coast really nailed it out of the park with this one. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you want more information on the campaign, like I said, in about a week's time, or week or two, I will be releasing a more thorough dissection of the campaign story. So if you're interested, definitely come back to that one, but only if you are someone who plans on running this as a dungeon master, because I don't want to spoil things for anyone potentially playing through it. So if you're interested in running the campaign and you want a little bit more information, I will have a spoiler-filled review video coming out in about a week's time. So until then, if any of you have picked this up or are picking this up, let me know in the comments below what your thoughts are, and if you've had a chance to start running it, what your thoughts are, because people are going to watch this video after the release date as well. So yeah, definitely let me know what your thoughts are on it when you get it for yourself. But again, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks again to Wizards of the Coast for sending this to me. And yeah, until next time, take care.